Hello and welcome to this episode of Peak Life. I'm Elizabeth Vaughn and I have with me here Lieutenant Bearcat from the Fire Department, Fire Marshal's office. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much
us.
for being here.
Appreciate it.
So let's talk about a life-saving tool, something that's super important that everyone in their homes and their businesses, they really need to be aware of, and that's smoke alarms. So tell me a little bit, real briefly, about the importance of smoke alarms, and then we'll kind of get into the cost of it, how we can get one. We'll dive right in.
Absolutely. So you're right. Smoke alarms are so valuable. And, even in a city of Chesapeake, we oftentimes think that because where we live and because what we're used to, some of these things we're immune to these things. Or these only
Sure.
happen in these other places. But
Hmm.
right here in Chesapeake, we have, numerous homes that don't have smoke detectors, that don't have working smoke alarms. And as a result, they're in jeopardy. And we have numerous fires throughout the year that oftentimes a smoke alarm could have alerted them early, had the fire department on scene early, allowed the people to escape, earlier. So
Yeah.
there's a big piece of having those in place with the National Fire Protection Agency or the NFPA
Hmm.
recommendations. You can do a Google search anywhere that will give you ideas on where to have them and so on and so forth. But a quick overview is really to just say when you have a smoke alarm, you should have one on every floor of your home.
Mm.
You should have one in the hallway outside your bedrooms, and then you should ideally have one in every bedroom. So if you start
Okay.
doing the math, there's homes that could end up with 4, 5, 6 detectors in them.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a cost associated with a lot of these things. So the city of Chesapeake has decided to use portions of federal money that we get to subsidize and allow certain individuals within the city to potentially qualify for a grant that allows us to purchase and install some of these life-saving pieces of equipment in their homes.
Okay.
The grant is called the Community Development Block Grant, and it benefits many departments and divisions within the city. One of the departments that it benefits is the fire department, and what we choose to do with a lot of that money is use it on educational materials, use it on these life-saving detectors. So any of our CO detectors, carbon monoxide, or smoke alarms,
Yeah.
we purchase that with these grants. So a popular question that we often get is, somebody will call in and say, "Hey, I hear the city of Chesapeake or the fire department gives away smoke detectors." And my common response is, sort of. Because these monies come from the federal government, there are requirements that they force us to, and rightfully so, they want us to abide by. So it does require an eligibility check to see if you're qualified. So the main message I want people to know is that yes, we want you to be safe. We want you to have these, devices in your home. I certainly welcome anyone to call the fire department, the fire prevention division, and ask. I'd like to see if I qualify for this. And we'll run you through the guidelines. And if you do, we'll send them out to our stations and our guys will come out and put them in for you. And if you don't, then, I always recommend that, hey, don't forget the life-saving, potential that these devices have.
Right.
But we are limited to what the federal grant will allow us to do. Now, to kind of shore up the other side of things, we have been working to find some partners that will provide us with smoke detectors that we can either purchase or get on a grant that doesn't have some of these restrictions in there. But as of right now, the grant is where we're able to provide some of these life-saving devices.
So it's really a tool that you're able to use to help those who really need it most. They're not going to be the people who have an extra 10 or 20 bucks to go out there and buy a couple smoke alarms. That's really so. How does somebody who thinks that they need it or might qualify? What's their next step? How do they get in touch with you?
So you can go on to cityofchesapeake.net and look under the fire department. There'll be our phone number, or you can call the fire prevention division, which is
Okay.
757-382-6566, and just ask to speak to someone about, I'd like to find out if I qualify for a smoke detector.
Okay.
And we'll walk you through the guidelines and the process. It only takes a few minutes. There is some personal information that we are required to gather to see if you meet the grant guidelines. It's a quick, painless process, and I'll be very direct and say, yes, you do, or no, you don't. It really is that fine of a line, is very easily for us to determine whether you do or don't. And you're 100% right. You hit it right on the head that this program is really designed for the citizens of Chesapeake who are in the greatest need, who really need these life-saving devices and don't maybe have the ability for whatever reason to be able to get them with the normal, budget that they have set. So
Sure.
we think it's a great program. We want to encourage people to take advantage of it, but I think it's important too that we do occasionally have to say no
Yeah.
based on those grant guidelines.
Well, and maybe this is something that everybody needs to look at it for what it is, which is a life-saving thing for your home. And maybe it's a thing of budgeting. Maybe you take a look. Okay, I can't afford to get 7 of the super duper kind of smoke alarms that I want. So let me start simple. If they're only able to get a few, what are a few key locations that they absolutely should have those in? Is it in the kitchen or in the bedroom or in the hall? Like, where should they start as they start to build their collection of smoke alarms?
Yeah, it's a great question. So where I would recommend people start that, and really this is going to be, again, keeping in mind what the NFPA guidelines are, we recognize finances play a big part in this. So nighttime, when people are sleeping, is when we really want people to be woken up by that smoke and able to get out of the house. So outside the bedrooms in that hallway is probably going to be a great first place to start. And then if you have, let's say you have a 4-bedroom home, but only 2 of the bedrooms are actually occupied by people sleeping, start with those 2 bedrooms. Start with that hallway and those 2 bedrooms, and then you can work your way up to the other bedrooms.
Okay.
You mentioned kitchens, and that's a really good point because it makes sense to us that kitchens would be a good place to have these, but the truth of the matter is we want to eliminate false alarms. So if you're going to put them in your kitchen, make sure they're 10 feet away from any cooking appliances, and that will prevent any steam or smoke from maybe just I slightly overcooked that meal from setting those detectors.
Yeah, sure somebody does. No, that's good. So we'll kind of focus on those areas where we are at night when we're not paying attention, when we're not awake and alert and gonna see it anyway.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Great information. We will send people to the fire department if they have more questions or if they think they might qualify for this grant.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you so much. Well, that does it for this edition of Peak Life. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.